OK, let's get an update now from Westminster. Political reporter Olivia Utley there for us this morning, dealing with the fallout 24 hours on, Olivia.
Yes, it's a very tricky day for Rishi Sunak because there are questions swirling around Westminster now about his political judgement. As Andrew Pearce suggests there, it feels as though this resignation/sacking has been inevitable for quite a long time, but Rishi Sunak wasn't prepared to pull the plug. There are MPs who say that that's because he's too nice, that's one way of putting it, and there are those who say that he just doesn't have the political decisiveness. And the issue now for Rishi Sunak is that this raises all sorts of questions about his own tax affairs, and we know that once the sleaze caravan, as it were, starts moving, it's quite hard to put a stop to it, and the whole government knows that they will now be under the spotlight. We also know that Rishi Sunak is already leading a very divided party. There are plenty of MPs on the backbenches who are really fed up with his continual defence of his tax rises. So he doesn't have that many friends around him. And what Zahawi was quite useful for is that he was a key ally of Boris Johnson's. So now Rishi Sunak has lost one of those. The picture's looking pretty bleak for him today.
I'm interested, Labour are saying that Dominic Raab should be temporarily removed whilst these 24 complaints against him are investigated. It's been a very slow investigation into that. Interesting, the difference in speed. Why do you think it's taking so much longer to look into the Justice Secretary?
Well, absolutely. This is a really interesting question because on the front page of The Telegraph, interestingly, this morning, there is a big defence of Nadhim Zahawi from his own political allies who feel that he was unfairly treated. And we saw that resignation letter from Zahawi showed quite a lot of defiance. And what he says is that he actually did declare his tax arrangements to Tom Scholar, who was the permanent secretary at the time, and that wasn't included in Laurie Magnus's report. So the suggestion from Zahawi's team is that Laurie Magnus, presumably at the behest of the Prime Minister, rushed through this report for political expediency, essentially, because there are all these questions swirling about Zahawi. So Zahawi's answer to your question would be that it does take more than a couple of days to do a proper investigation. The investigation into Raab is being conducted at a reasonable pace, whereas Zahawi was, he would argue, thrown out to the wolves because Rishi Sunak wanted to look decisive. Rishi Sunak essentially has the worst of all worlds. He has failed to look decisive because there are plenty of people in Westminster who just feel he should have acted far sooner. But Zahawi and his allies feel that he was too decisive. He pulled the plug before looking into the matter properly. So that sort of explains the disparity between those two investigations.